afternoon, everybody. I'm delighted to be joined. My name is Deborah Richards. I am the owner and managing partner of Madison's Residential. We're an estate agent on the Pantiles. We deal in sales, lettings, and land and new homes. And obviously, we are all working mums in this forum. And I thought it might be really nice to catch up with some great inspirational working mums in the town to hear almost a year on from when we first got that dreaded full lockdown. I was looking back at my diary a year ago, and this week last year was the first signs that something wasn't quite right. And my diary started to have cancellations all over it. I can't believe it was almost a year ago. I thought it'd be really good coming up to a year with so much hope, optimism, spring in the air, to catch up with these great ladies to find out how they found it after the last year. So we were supposed to be joined today by Anna Stanford, but for personal reasons, she's not able to join us. So I'm just going to go around and ask everybody to introduce themselves. So let's go with Melissa, first of all. Melissa, tell us a little bit about yourself, a quick background of who you are, where you are.
Hi, Deborah. Thank you so much for inviting me, first of all. So I'm Melissa. I'm a local mum of four. I recently opened a design and lighting gallery in Tunbridge Wells on the High Street, Lumiere. And we collected the keys sort of about 5 weeks before lockdown was announced. Did all the renovation work, and then got closed down. So it's been a really interesting year for me. Real positive things have come out of it though. So yeah.
Good. We will definitely hear about those. Now I've got two Lyns here, both who spell their names exactly the same as well. So let's go to the top of my screen at the moment, and Lynn Gadsden. Welcome.
Hello, Deborah, and everybody. Lovely to join you. Thanks for asking me. Yes, I'm Lynn Gadsden. I'm a chartered financial planner, and I run my business, Grovewood Wealth Management, with my husband, which brings its own challenges, in Belter, so very locally, with my team of 6 people who are normally here, but they're not. They're all at home. I'm here in the office on my own today. I've escaped, which has been wonderful. I've been doing this job for 28 years as an advisor, so you'd think I could cope with most things that are thrown at us, but the pandemic has been an unusual one, I must admit. But yes, I'll tell you more as we go through. But I'm a mum of a 14-year-old and a stepmom to 2 older stepchildren, so who I don't have to worry about too much. But yeah, the challenges of all of it have been huge.
Great. Yes. Brilliant. Thank you, Lynn. Yeah, absolutely. And Lynn Meek, welcome also to yourself. You're looking gorgeous as always. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. This is so exciting to talk to you all. I've been so desperate to talk to people. So I'm Lynn Meek, and my business is the Meek Boutique. I'm a personal stylist of about a decade, and launched the Meek Boutique in 2018. And I was soon joined by my husband, who now works with me full time. And then in September last year, our youngest son, Tom, joined the business as well. So there's the 3 of us, and then our eldest son works for us on a consultancy basis. So we are a truly family business. So it was just as well I called it the Meek Boutique and not something else, really. But we basically sell clothes online for ladies. Our niche is sort of women. I mean, we don't like to be too exclusive, but it's women of a certain age, shall we say, sort of 35 and upwards, women who want to be comfortable and stylish. And it's been a very, very interesting year for us as well.
Brilliant. That's great. Well, welcome all. And it's interesting, we've all got such strong connections with our husbands, actually, because yes, I run Madison's now with my husband. I went to him 9 years ago with this mad idea. And 3 years ago, he sort of said, that looks like it's working, and came and joined me. Of course, Melissa, Daryl's very involved in your business as well, isn't he, with what he does? So interesting that we've all got that husband connection. That's probably something that's helped. So Lynn, I'm going to say Lynn M. Let's just do that from now on. Lynn M. So looking back almost a year ago and thinking about those early days of lockdown, I mean, what was your worst moment as you look back and think about it?
I think there wasn't a worse moment to begin with. I think we just got busy, really, really busy. So we didn't really think about it too much. We were just like, oh, wow, the orders are sort of flooding in because people were at home and they were board, and most importantly, a lot of working women were needing comfy clothing, and we'd been going for over a year. So it was like, who do I know that does comfy clothing? Lynn does. So let's go and get some comfy joggers so I can sit and work from behind my screen. So we didn't really think too much at the beginning. We were just motoring and just sort of thinking, wow, this is amazing. But you know what it's like over the year. It's been it's been like an emotional roller coaster, isn't it? And there have definitely been times where people generally have been really quite low. I think October was horrendous. I think for most people it was really not a good time. I think people realise that this isn't going away. This has come back and it's even worse than before. So we noticed it in a massive dip in sales, but just generally people were pretty miserable. And you know, people are happy, we're happy. If people are miserable, we get a little bit miserable as well. It's just
absolutely. Yeah. So I guess for Lynn, for you, it was great because of course your business was predominantly online, and therefore, Melissa, my goodness, what a difference for you. I mean, I remember your big Valentine's, so February the 14th, and you're lovely, and I was getting so excited by this shop that was opening on the high street. So how did you feel? I mean, you've taken a commitment, big high street premises, all of that. What were your early thoughts?
Yeah, so obviously it was quite stressful. I don't know if stressful is the right word. It meant that I had to rethink things quite a lot. I think the lowest point actually for me in this whole year was that week leading up to the schools closing, because I could see what was happening in France. I have a lot of family in France and the rest of Europe, so I could see what's happening in France, and I actually took my children out of school before the schools in the UK closed. And so around that time, I had a gallery manager that I had appointed, and she pulled out the day that lockdown was announced and said, look, you know, I can't do this. I have sort of, you know, mortgage commitments and things, and I need to, you know, honour those and sort of put those first. So she pulled out. I knew that I had about 250 lights arriving to be installed, which I was going to have to do, you know, on my own with my husband, with the 4 children in the back. But very quickly, I realised that actually things like social media, you know, would really help. We had a lot of work to do before we could open anyway, so that was okay. And I just rethought my plans. So things like, you know, virtual consultations for lighting, an app that we created as well, so that people could actually virtually walk through the gallery through the app. So lots of things we put into place pretty quickly to manage, you know, what was happening in the world.
Brilliant, amazing. I mean, amazing. So resilient. Lynn G, did you feel like that in those early days? Did you kind of adapt quickly and just go with it?
It was mad. I mean, as I say, I've been through a lot of things that happened in my career, but this was, and again, like Melissa said, that week before, it was actually my husband's 50th birthday a year ago yesterday. So, and then my birthday, the day of my birthday was when Boris announced that we should all stay from home, and I'd been looking and realising this was really serious. And so I actually phoned my staff and said, you're coming in tomorrow and you're going home. And they were, oh, what, for a couple of weeks? I'm like, no, take everything with you because it might be a long time. So they went home. But for us, God, it was, I mean, I deal with that. I have a very responsible job looking after people's finances, and they rely on us. The markets were crashing. People were worried that the world was going to end and that all their money was going to disappear. So I just did what I felt was instinctive to pick up the phone. We've got a lot of elderly clients who were dreadfully worried. They just got all the bad news. So we picked up the phone. We literally phoned nearly all our clients and to check that they were okay, trying to tell them not to worry, even though we really didn't know that, you know, what was going to happen, but to reassure them that we were there. So I then started sending out a weekly email, which we'd never done again. You know, mine's all about face-to-face. I've been with people face-to-face for 28 years. So suddenly, and they really liked that weekly email because they knew we were there. I would always give them a little tidbit of what was going on. So it was about reassuring them, reassuring my staff that they were going to be all right and it was going to work. And then personally, my poor son was in his last year at school, had the lead role in the school play at School of Rock. We'd rehearsed for 6 months. I knew every word of that show. And they allowed them to do one show just to the parents and to the sibling and to their siblings. And it was amazing. But yeah, his sister cried the whole way through. So because she was just it was so emotional. And that was the only chance they got to do it. So there was so many emotions going on. But for me, it was about trying to hold it together not just for me and my staff and my family, but for more importantly for my clients, to make them realise that it was going to be, we were there still. So yeah,
that's really interesting, because we had dinner at the Ivy, didn't we? Of course, early March.
This week, I think it would have been.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? I mean, I just look back and think, personally, from my experience, I am ever the optimist. And I mean, you have to be when you're an estate agent, because you can put an awful lot of work in and not get paid. So you have to be permanently optimistic that you are going to get paid. And I was genuinely quite oblivious to it, really. I think as well, I set up Madison's 9 years ago. When I set it up, there were 34 other estate agents in the town that I was competing against. And it had just started, I think, 2016, I was starting to really get going. And of course, then we had the Brexit vote and the housing market just ground to a halt. It became dysfunctional and broken for a very long time, where there just wasn't enough transactions going on. And then we had that Boris vote at the end of 2019, and we went into 2020 absolutely booming. I mean, it was bonkers busy. Everything we listed, we were selling. And I was thinking, so this is what it feels like to run like a proper estate agent, where the phone keeps ringing and people want you to sell their house. And then, of course, what happened, and I remember for me, my real low point was saying to my husband, I just don't think I've got the energy to pick myself up from this again, actually, because I've gone through 3 years of really tough Brexit times. Before that, I was building the business, which takes obviously a lot of energy, of all of you will know and remember. And then it was like, kind of, now we're here again. And, I had a big team and keeping them safe. And we went into it with a huge pipeline. And I've moved into this hideous bungalow that I'm in at the moment, which I got planning permission on Friday to knock down. Anyway, brilliant news, but it's just not fit for purpose for working from home. And I'm a woman who doesn't like to feel elastic around my waist too much, actually. So I was finding it really odd, just working from my bedroom on my bed, trying to hold steady 41 deals that we went into lockdown with, to stop people walking away from their transaction, furloughing all my staff. And it just felt like the most surreal experience ever. I have to say, I look back and think they were quite dark days. I think we got to day 10 and I said to my husband, I'm going to the office. I cannot cope with being here anymore. And my husband and I worked from the office, but we had to have big signs up and we couldn't turn the lights on. I mean, we were almost working by candlelight. And it was really, really, really strange. And we, of course, were only locked down really for about 7 weeks. And then the market opened again, and it's just been manically busy. So looking back then and thinking about sort of change, what's been different as our business as a result? Melissa, what have you done differently? Because you talked about your virtual tours and things, but what else has been different?
Well, that's been the biggest change, I'd say. I had never anticipated having a virtual tour of Lumiere. My whole idea, my whole business plan was to have this beautiful gallery, people to come in and actually see the lights in the flesh, and suddenly nobody could come in. So, and we still had vinyls up. We had privacy vinyls up on all the windows because we hadn't finished, sort of installing the lights. It was supposed to be this big reveal. And actually that worked to our advantage, because like you said, we had to pretty much work, almost a candlelight. We had to come here, children, iPads and blankets and bean bags, and, probably would have looked like some sort of shanty town, sort of, from the outside. So it worked quite well. But so virtual tours, virtual consultations, literally having people call me on FaceTime and say, hi Melissa, see you on Instagram, here's my bedroom ceiling, what light do you recommend? Like none of that stuff would I've ever anticipated. So yeah, a lot of that really. I suppose the buying has been a little bit trickier as well. I haven't been able to go to the big interior design shows. That will come, it's fine. So I'd say those are probably the biggest ones. So the app, the virtual consultations, more social media, for example. So we did a few, we called it Friday Frolics, a bit of a fun Friday post. And people really loved it. It kept them entertained during lockdown. So we continued. So every Friday, we sort of did a Friday Frolics post, and it involved the lights, and it involved maybe a film or a song. Yeah, so I suppose putting myself on social media has been a bit strange as well, because, my private accounts are very private. We're quite private people, so that's been a huge thing for me. But yeah, as you probably know, I never show my children's faces, that kind of thing. We're, a bit private like that. But yeah, so lots of changes, lots of things we've implemented.
brilliant. And lots of them sound very, very, exciting things as well, and things that will probably make your business going forward much more operationally efficient. And Lynn G, you probably found that as well, haven't you? That just things now you can do differently.
Yes, definitely. We've it's given us, I mean, it's not given us an awful lot of time because we've been working a lot harder than we ever did before, but we've changed a lot of things. We've got an app now as well, which is has been incredible. It's just brought even more business to our door, which is great. But we've found probably one of the biggest changes is that I'm spending a lot more time, I wouldn't call it hand-holding, but just helping and advising and reassuring and helping people make decisions, because they're just not feeling great about themselves at the moment. They're looking in the mirror and I get so many messages from women saying, I've put on a few pounds, I just don't know what I'm doing anymore, and I need help. So I've been doing an awful lot more sort of phone and consultations and talking to people and emailing and messaging, and so that's been a really, really big factor. We've obviously had to change the clothes that we sell, because we sold quite a big range before that included going out. Remember those days?
Yeah.
Having a nice time, going to a party. We used to do, you know, sort of a bit of party wear and a bit of work wear and, you know, all sorts of things. So we've had to focus very much on comfortable clothing, because that is what people have needed. So we've had to completely sort of rethink the lines that we do. I've had to spend a lot more time finding new suppliers, because with Brexit, Europe has become an absolute nightmare trying to get stock through customs. So I've had to focus a lot on developing relationships with suppliers in this country, which I had before, but I've had to really up that, and it's taken a lot of time and effort to get the trust with other suppliers, because you know, it's all very well sort of thinking, well, we're just going to keep on doing what we were doing before and get a load from Europe, but if you can't actually get the stock because it's not getting through customs, you have to change the way you think about things and find other sources. So that's been quite a big change for us in the last few weeks. It's been a massive headache, I would say. Massive.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It'll get easier, I'm sure, but I think at the beginning, I think a lot of European countries, they thought, oh well, it's you know, it's their issue, they're the ones that withdrew. They didn't realise that they were the ones that actually had to fill out the paperwork right.
Yes.
So we had an awful lot of problems because things weren't getting through the borders because they didn't fill out the paperwork. So
it's funny, isn't it?
It's like, find out.
Yeah, with the pandemic, we've kind of forgotten about Brexit. I mean, I couldn't get hold of spaghetti for a while, and I was convinced that was because of coronavirus. And then it was like, no, actually, there's this factory and they can't get it out. I mean, it was just like the most bizarre thing ever. So, and that's really interesting, Lynn. I hadn't really thought about how the products were changing. We had our staff Christmas party, actually. We did it virtually. And we had hampers delivered to all of our staff. And we all did a big Zoom call and we had quizzes and stuff. And we all sat there in jogging bottoms, but with a kind of sequin top on. And, you know, a couple of my team went into monsoon, and they could not believe the price that you could get something with a sequin on. I mean, it was unbelievable, because nobody was buying their Christmas party wear, were they? Which, you know, normally would be a huge seller. So yeah, really interesting how you've had to change. There's been that whole rise of kind of the casual work from home wear. Sort of smart from the top.
We're very lucky because we've never been a business that's bought a year ahead. A lot of fashion retailers buy a year ahead, so they buy the whole sort of product range a year in advance, and a lot of fashion retailers have really caught cold on that, because they were landed with stuff for, you know, going off and watching the races and going to weddings, and of course none of them happened, and they were having to sell them off at 90% just to get some sort of money back. So we've always bought and sold as and when we want, so we didn't have any stock that was like that. So we were very, very lucky there.
Brilliant. And Lynn, what about you? What sort of changes have you seen in your business?
Gosh, so many. I mean, as I said before, mine's a face-to-face. I go and sit in people's houses and have a cup of tea with them, and have done for all those years. Or they come into my office. And financial advice is very much about somebody trusting you. And so that's, you know, my existing clients trust us anyway, so that's lovely. But trying to find new clients, and just trying to develop new clients it's been difficult. But there's been some amazing things that happened with it. So Zoom, I live my life on this. As I've just told you all a few little tidbits about Zoom. You know, Zoom has been fantastic, because I've been able to still see people. So you can pick up the phone and talk to somebody. It's not the same as seeing them. You can't see their facial expressions. It just feels like I'm sitting with them a bit more. But lots of my clients are older. Oh my God, the challenges of that. Half an hour just trying to get somebody on Zoom, and then bless them, one couple, I couldn't see her at all, and I could only see his forehead, so I talked to his forehead for an hour. But I got them on it. The next time I saw them, they got themselves sorted. And actually, so weirdly, I'm teaching my clients a new skill, and they go, Lynn, we've now been talking to our family on this. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
So we had to do it immediately, but that's brought it down challenges. But Zoom actually has brought some fantastic opportunities. It doesn't matter where a client lives now. I can take on a client all over the world potentially, or certainly in the UK, because we can use this, and we will carry on using this, I think. So I do. I give a lot of advice to as I mentioned before, older clients or our age group who've got older parents and they're worried about care, inheritance tax planning, that sort of thing. But actually, they don't really want to make decisions. And quite often, I want to get the different generations involved. Zoom is amazing. So I could have a conversation with mum and dad and hit their forehead, the son or daughter, and then the other son or daughter. So I had one call about a lady going into care, and I had the daughter, who I would normally see the daughter who was in Tunbridge Wells, for instance. But the other daughter was in Southampton, another one was in Nottingham, the other one was in New Zealand. And we had one call talking to them all, rather than I talk to one and then it'd be like Chinese whispers going around them all to work out what Lynn said originally. And it would all go completely wrong. So this has been fantastic. From a net, getting new clients, I've had to do social media. I didn't do social media. So girls, any help you can give me, please, I'd love it. Because people don't really want to follow a financial advisor because it sounds pretty boring, but I'm trying to make it interesting. I'm trying to make it personal. What I do is help people's lives. It's not just about their money, it's about how we help their lives. So that's been good. I was also president of the Chamber of Commerce in Tunbridge Wells. They went bust in April time last year, so I'm now the president of nothing, which was not very good. So I've set up a new, and you're very welcome to join us, ladies. I've set up a new business forum called Entwine about Tunbridge Wells businesses, so we can still meet each other. And we've got 50 businesses. We've run our 3 now. So my little idea has just multiplied, and these businesses love it because we're all able to talk to each other. I've just set up a new ladies networking lunch, which Deborah and I used to do many years ago together, but we're back doing it again, and I'm sponsoring that. So again, please come and join us, because it's about connections, isn't it? It's about still seeing people and not being behind a screen. So I've been trying to think, well, how can I do it? But it's been fun. Some of it's been really fun as well.
Yeah, and I think it's that sort of connecting in different ways, isn't it? And certainly for me now, I mean, it was interesting. We had our website redesigned a few years ago, and we would have Zoom meetings with the web designers. And so I was fully okay with Zoom when it launched. Boy, do I wish I'd bought shares in it back then. If only I could have thought to myself, that's quite a good idea, actually, because that's what the pandemic's done, really, hasn't it? It's accelerated lots of things that were kind of already there and were going to happen. I mean, the virtual tour side for me, just like for Melissa, has been just massive. I mean, we do all of our first viewings now presenter led by myself or one of my team, and they have just gone down so well. They just get rid of all those time wastery first viewings. They give people a really good flavour of the property. And now when we do the second viewings, which are the first physical viewings, then we get multiple offers. So those have been brilliant, and I'll definitely be taking that. I'm not going to change that. I read a poll recently that about 70% of agents think they'll stop doing virtual tours as soon as the government guidelines ease on it. And from my perspective, I'm just going to always do them because they have been revolutionary to the operational efficiency of my business. And they've also meant that,
also if you're busy like we are,
yeah, totally.
Property, how brilliant, you can go on and have a quick look rather than having to go and see somewhere. I think it's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wonder why they're not going to do them anymore. It seems, as soon as you were saying it, it's like, well, that makes total sense. So why are so many going to opt out of it? It doesn't make sense.
I think the reality is, for a lot of them, they don't actually do virtual tours. They just make the photos swoosh around, and that is not a virtual tour. So they've not actually embraced what we've won. So much business from buyers that we've sent our virtual tours to, and they said, oh my gosh, that for my marketing of my house, that's what I want. So I think you either buy into it or you don't you? And you know, change is great. And when you're running a business, I mean, that's the biggest one thing this pandemic's teach me is you just got to be ready to change a bit more and accept what's kind of coming around the corner a bit, really. I mean, I thought it'd be interesting for us to all think about our biggest challenge in it. I mean, from my perspective, the biggest challenge has been the sheer workload. I recorded a vlog on the 26th of April, back in full lockdown, in which a few of my learned colleagues in the town who I pitch against were predicting a massive price drop. And that morning on the BBC News, they were predicting a 30% drop in property values. And I was incensed because I felt personally that most people who drive the property market in the Southeast would be feeling quite wealthy because they weren't paying for a train ticket to London and they're working from home and they're not spending £10 a day on lunch and coffee and they're not going out. Mortgage rates at historically low rates and people staring at their four walls and thinking, actually, is this right? Do I really love my husband? Actually, no, I don't. I think I want a divorce. I need a home working space. I feel my parents are really vulnerable and I need to be nearer to them. Actually, I don't need to be so near to the station. I don't need to be in the capital. So I recorded a vlog that's there for time immemorial saying I predicted prices would rise the minute that lockdown lifted. And oh my goodness, it went absolutely bonkers. It's Constance, bless her. And the biggest challenge for me, I think, was navigating a changing landscape of keeping my staff, my clients, my buyers, myself safe, you know, stopping the spread, risk assessing everything, buying PPE, understanding what we were supposed to do, and, you know, coping with this phenomenal uptake in business, which has been astronomical. And I'm very lucky to have sat in an industry that has benefited. I feel very sorry for many friends I've got in the hospitality sector or events whose business has been decimated. So I feel exhausted because I regularly do a 16-hour day now, but I will take that exhaustion any day of the week. But that challenge of kind of keeping my staff happy, managing their anxiety, everybody has reacted really differently to this, keeping them happy, safe, running the business, combined with the whole homeschooling thing, definitely, which I'll come on to later, but that's for me been the biggest issue. Lynn M, what's been your biggest challenge, do you feel, looking back?
I think well, apart Brexit's been the biggest challenge for me, but I've discussed that already, and I don't want to even talk about it again because it's just a big bloody headache. And obviously, just getting supplies was a real challenge as well. But I think probably one of the biggest challenges, because with a sort of business where people engage with me very, very heavily. A lot of women need help. They're not feeling great about how they look. They ask an awful lot of questions. They've not been feeling great about how they look because they haven't had their friends around them to say, well, you look lovely, and they've been stuck at home and they're feeling a bit white and pasty and everything's gone a bit southwards and they're a bit flabby and they've put on a bit of weight, and there's just a million reasons why we don't feel great about ourselves. And we're very, I think because we're in a small environment now, we're becoming even more heightened how bad we feel about ourselves. I think that's coming through. That's the message that's loud and clear. So because of that, I get, I mean, it's a beautiful thing, and I'm not knocking it at all. It just comes with the challenge of time, really. Inundated with messages on lots of different platforms from women needing help. And it's not just a quick question, it's quite long-winded, and I have to go back and I have to remember that this is so important to them. I can't just give it a throwaway answer. That they need help, and then they come back and ask something else, and you end up with a conversation that can go on for quite a long time, and you multiply that by dozens and dozens and dozens. That's been a really big challenge for me. It's just sort of remembering how important that they're one people out of 100 that have ordered that day, but this is a really big deal for them. And how they feel.
That's why you're so different then. It's not, you're not just buying something from you've got that support. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, I know how much confidence lots of my clients I've sent to Lynn over the years, and I know how much confidence you've given them as women about themselves. I think it's
just so hard for women. I think at the moment, I think it's we've all become very introspective, and women don't need much encouragement to be hard on themselves. So that has been tough, but thank you, Lynn. That means a lot because you're one of my biggest supporters, and I always appreciate it.
I see the difference you made people. And actually, interesting on a fashion thing, I've still got dressed every day to go to work. Not in, I've even worn heels quite often. I can't at the moment because I hurt my leg, but I, you know, because to me, working, I can't work. I might wear jogging bottoms, but nobody can see that. But it doesn't feel right. So I've done my hair, done my makeup, got dressed, got a dress and things. But that's not just because I'm on this, it's because it makes me feel better about myself. And Melissa's nodding as well, because it just doesn't feel right for me to talk to somebody in a professional standard.
It's a mindset. It's a mindset. And if you feel good and you feel in control and you feel that you're looking good, then everything else kind of follows. And I think if you feel rubbish, then I don't feel that I can help other people if I'm not feeling great about myself. So I always do my hair like you, Lynn. I always do my hair, always do my makeup. I always put on something that I feel really good in. And then it's easier to kind of help other people when you're feeling, I've got this. In whatever you do, I think if you're confident in what you're doing, then other people kind of link in with that.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's such a good point. I hadn't, because you're right. I've really gone to work every day through this pandemic. I've dressed up, and interestingly, I've got a sense when I go to see some people, they've literally not talked properly to someone else for months. So I was like, I feel like I could escape, but. But that sense of kind of you're just at home and who are you dressing up for? And actually you need to dress up for yourself, and for your husband, and you want to look good for them. And, it's like there's a whole circle of, isn't it? Melissa, what have you found the biggest challenge, do you feel, during all of this?
I think it probably has been, juggling my 4 children. I have 4 children under the age of 11. So juggling all of them with their homeschooling. And a really busy business. I'm in a similar sort of industry as you, Deborah, where, everybody's been sitting at home, looking around their homes and thinking, what should we do to improve it? And lighting is a huge way to improve, a home without doing any major kind of renovation work. So we've been really, really busy. This lockdown's been a bit trickier because my staff, I have 3 members of staff, one kind of also who does bits and pieces for me. But they have all been homeschooling. So actually the only member of staff that I've been able to have to bring in has been the one that's got older children. I had to furlough the others. And so just even managing that. But yes, the children, the homeschooling, I'm very lucky that this time round, they had all things like Teams, they had live, classes on Teams for my secondary school child. But the first lockdown, oh my goodness, it was, they introduced fractions for my my year 3 child, and I was having to teach her fractions as well as, kind of like on a call, or, it was just, it was pretty full on. So that's definitely been the biggest challenge, I think. And the children have been brilliant. I can't complain. They have been absolutely amazing, and they've come out of it, with so many new skills. So I've just had to get on with it. There are times I've been, I can't help you right now. It's going to have to wait.
It's not a bad thing for children to know that they're not the centre of everyone's universe all the time. And I think that all our children are and should be very proud of what we are doing, because we're good role models for them. I think it's really important. I think there's an awful lot of guilt being a working mother. We always feel that we're not doing everything. We're either not working as well as we should be because we're concentrating on the children, or we feel guilty that the children are losing out because we're working. But at the end of the day, I mean, I think I'm that much further on than the rest of you, but to have our 2 sons as part of our business now, and I look at them in absolute awe and think, oh my God, did we actually create these 2 amazing humans that are working with us and making our business even better? And that's because they've had us as working parents, and then we've been a good role model for them. So
that's really interesting.
If you ever feel guilt, don't, because you're doing a great job.
It's really interesting because actually, so when we took all the vinyls up, we peeled all the vinyls away from the gallery when we did our sort of big reveal. And my eldest had gone back to school because she was in year 6, and she's the only one we sort of sent back. And I said, we're going to take the vinyls off, the gallery windows today. And she said, oh, please wait for me to come home from school to do it. And I said, really? I said, I thought you would have been bored of all this by now. She's like, no, it's all part of the adventure. And suddenly in that moment, I thought, wow, okay, it's
a family thing.
Yeah.
Isn't that lovely that they said it like that? I mean, that's just a lovely way. I know, Lynn, your youngest is obviously a bit older and probably had great, I'm guessing, homeschooling provision from his school. So biggest challenge for you, probably hasn't been what has it been, juggling or?
Yeah, just I think being there and holding it together for everybody early on with my staff, and having my staff been at home all year. I hadn't seen them since last March, and they came to our house at Christmas because we still have that group of 6, and we sat outside and had our Christmas do, but I hadn't seen them since March other than on a screen. So that's really strange. My clients, trying to hold it together for them. Sadly, we lost a few clients to COVID and other things as well. And then dealing with their families, and I deal with people from birth to death. So it's being there for them. There's a lot of work to do. Our business levels dropped sadly because people just buried their heads in the sand and didn't want to think about anything because they thought the world was going to end. Watched the BBC News, which a lot of them do. Thought it was going to end. That's gradually picking up because people are realizing they've still got to do tax planning and think about what they can do for their families and future and retirement. So that was interesting. For my son, he's an only child, and he's got two older I've got two older stepchildren, but they've sort of gone. So I found that very, very difficult because he was on his own. I don't think he saw another. We live on top of Ashdown Forest. I don't think he saw in the first lockdown another child for 10 weeks. Other than on a screen, and that's just not normal. And he was also leaving his school. He was at home with house. He was leaving his school, so didn't get to do any of the stuff he did. I had to invigilate his common entrance exams whilst trying to work, which is the weirdest thing ever. And then he started a new school, but in a face mask all day and boarding as well. So he's had a really strange experience. And he went back this week and he just said, "Mum, I'm allowed to hug the boys in my house." And to him, that was really, he's a very social boy. So I found that very difficult, particularly that first lockdown, is that I just was really worried about him and really worried about everybody, but completely running on adrenaline myself, holding it together. I didn't start to feel a bit down myself about it. It was probably September when suddenly he went to school, all my stuff away, and suddenly I was on my own going, there's nobody here to look after other than on the screen. So there's different moments, isn't it? I think Lynn said it was a roller coaster, sometimes it's been fine. So everybody, and I talk to people all day long, every day, from all different walks of life, of my clients, and I've heard some really sad stuff and some lovely stuff as well. So it's been an interesting journey.
Interesting. That mention of adrenaline, I think it's really interesting because although the early days were quite tricky for me, and I lost my granddad, for example, to COVID and work kind of thing, I feel like I was running on adrenaline quite a lot. But actually, for me, this last announcement when Boris said, another 7 weeks until retail can open, that for me was hard. That was really hard because everyone was like, "Yay, amazing, lights at the end of the tunnel, holiday." And I was thinking another 7 weeks.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a long time. So I think for me that announcement was probably a bit of a low for me. Also, it's a tricky time of year, February, all sorts of tricky anniversaries and that kind of thing. But now I feel like I'm, feeling a lot more kind of, a lot more positive. And another challenge I think for me has also been keeping my staff motivated. So I've got the children that I've got to perk up, like you were saying, I've got the children I've got to keep upbeat. I've got to kind of support my husband because he's still really busy at home as well. And then I've got, my staff who, looking to me each time there's an announcement as if to say, so how do we feel about this? How do you feel about this? What's going to happen? So it's been that kind of pillar for everybody, isn't it? That's a huge challenge.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because we all have mentioned this, that we are the kind of linchpin. And I guess we, all 4 of us front up our businesses. We're working with family and other staff as well, but we feel responsible for everyone. But that's women for you, isn't it? We always take everyone else's.
Yeah, absolutely.
Strong women as well. Strong women.
Well, true, exactly. Isn't that always the case? If you've got a woman who will get on with it. I mean, I agree. I think this last lockdown, I went past Le Petit Jardin the other day in Chapel Place, and they've got a sign up on the door. They've got lockdown 3 in brackets, the boring one. And I thought, actually, that sums it up, doesn't it? Like, no one's making banana bread anymore, or we're all just literally going, actually, I just want to go out. I mean, we obviously have our window on the London Road, and Millie in my team is a phenomenal artist, and she decorates my windows for me. And that's why in this one I gave her the words to put up to remember even are the darkest nights are followed by the light, because for me that's what this lockdown has felt like. It's felt really long. Everyone's really sick of it. I mean, I look at what's going on in France and Italy, and thank goodness haven't we sorted our vaccination program out well, but you just sort of have a sense of this one has been really tough. And I think for children, definitely. I mean, from my perspective, I've got 3 children, my eldest at university, who sort of looks after him himself. I don't really have to worry about him too much. And he's such an easy, great boy anyway. Then I've got my 13-year-old who's at a very nice private school who gets completely provided for. So it's not demanding in terms of my effort, but when she comes to me with a homework question, oh my goodness, I haven't got a clue. And one of the most amazing things that's come out of lockdown for me was Parents' Evening by Zoom. Oh my gosh.
Loved it.
Can that just continue, quite frankly? That was great, really great. Then I've got a surprise 4-year-old. Everyone knows I've had a baby very, very late. Interestingly, she asked me, she's in reception, and she asked me if she could make a worry doll because she wanted to tell the worry doll that she was worried she'd never go back to school. And I mean, I'm a terrible working mother. My children sort of raised themselves, really. But I was really quite surprised by that, how socially she just wants to be in that environment. And that's been, in terms of my family reacting, it was interesting. We all spoke at the beginning about how our husbands are involved. And my husband, James, who runs the business with me, I'm very, very lucky in that I adore my husband to bits. He's my best friend in the whole world. And I could never spend enough time with him, quite frankly. So I don't find working with him a challenge at all. It's wonderful. And I think it's been great that we've been able to be in it together. Have the rest of you felt like that? I mean, Melissa, you obviously, Daryl's a big part of your business, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, well, I wouldn't say he's kind of a part of my business. He does a lot of my supplying. So, but he has been involved very heavily because I had no one else to help me install the lights during that first lockdown. So, we've got, we had, obviously the keys, that the place was ready and looking beautiful, ready for the lights. And we had like 200 boxes delivered, and even the delivery person couldn't even bring them in because of COVID. So we had an empty high street. I've got the most insane footage of Tommy Giles High Street, just completely empty. And all these faces in the flats above just watching us the whole day because it was the only entertainment. But we had the 4 children, having pizza and watching films on the screen we've got for consultations. And then just bringing like boxes in, 200 boxes. So he and I, spent months just installing lights together, and like you say, thankfully we get on really well. I've been with him half my life now. And yeah, so it was great. But, I've kind of got like the head of this, massive company that normally doesn't get involved in any of that in his sort of kind of tracksuit and installing lights for me. he said don't do this for anyone else, I wouldn't do this for any other customer.
Yeah, no, absolutely yeah, you've had some favors you could call, I'm sure. And Lynn, what about for you with Michael? I mean, how has that been? You obviously run the business with him. How has it been for you?
Well, it's been really interesting. So we've run our business for 20 years together this year. 20 years, and I'm still married. Oh my God, that's like a... But weirdly, we've probably seen less of each other because we're normally both in the office with our staff, with clients coming in now. But we decided that we would keep our office, and I'm in the office today, we'd keep the office going, but only one of us at a time. And so one would stay at home and homeschool, and we've got a puppy as well, so that's another challenge. And the other would come in. So actually, we get away from each other each day, which is sort of quite nice, really. I did send him a Valentine's card going, I love you, but I think I've seen enough of you. Because I feel like, because it is, it's, and because we both, there's amazing pros of running your business together because you are both in it together completely for a common goal. And that's why people say to us, how have you managed to do it so long? It's because of that. But there's also, it's very intense because of that, because you are both completely in it and you've got the problem. So we try to cut off when we are at home from work. But yeah, we've been doing it for a long time. So in a way, it's fun. We just want him to get out and play golf again, really. That's all I care about. Can you get the golf courses going so he can go out there and play golf again? So yeah.
Brilliant. And then Lynn, your husband's obviously, and your boys are involved in your business as well. How's it been for you?
Well, Russ and I have been together for 37 years, so we're very long-term married. So, from that point of view, it wasn't going to be an issue. But it's been an interesting journey because when we started the Meek Boutique, we both had other businesses as well. So I was a personal stylist and have been for a number of years. In my ignorance, I sort of said, I'll just, I'll do both. I can run a shop and be a personal stylist. And Russ had a chauffeuring business, an executive chauffeuring business. And so at the beginning, we were running 3 businesses until it became apparent that, really this was a bit of a silly idea. I don't know what we were thinking of. But I think the reason that I was driving the business as hard as I was at the beginning was because I knew that Russ was really, really unhappy with his business, because he could see that ultimately it was just a business that wasn't going anywhere. It was just getting harder and harder, with so many factors changing, with entertainment and travel not happening so much. So we started the boutique with the hope that it could just bring an extra income for us. But within 6 months, he'd sold his business, and we were running it full time together. And
he's the best photographer ever.
He's had to learn pretty quick. But I have to say, when I think about it, sometimes if I think about it when I'm feeling a little bit kind of a bit emotional, I would say that it's probably one of the most profound things I've ever done in my life, is to start a business and have Russ be part of it, because I couldn't have asked for a better person to do that. I mean, he's got zero interest in fashion. He doesn't really have much experience when it comes to online buying. He wouldn't even know how to buy himself a t-shirt online if he had to, but he's just gone with it. He's been open-minded, he's embraced it. He's always been my biggest supporter. And I mean, it's just when I think about it, and sometimes he just looks at me and he goes, "Thank you for saving me," because he felt he was backed into a corner with his business, and he was feeling so out of control and despondent about it. That when and you know, if I think about it now, I could cry just hearing him saying that he's now so enjoying what we're doing. He loves every minute of it. We're both very passionate. We talk about everything to do with the business endlessly. We are, you know, the passion is huge, to the point where when Tom started, within weeks, he was exactly the same. He was coming in and I've been thinking about it at home, and we WhatsApp each other every night, and you know, we're just totally absorbed in it, probably because I suppose there's nothing else much to think about at the moment. But yeah, it's a big deal for all of us. And then Dan, our other son, is exactly the same. He just loves it. He just works on the technical side for us because he's a web developer, so he does a consultancy for us.
And I think that's the great thing, isn't it, when you've got a joint business like I've got with my husband, you know, that joint passion to do such a good job, and just to have each other's back. Actually, sometimes that's what it's about. Like Melissa, you know, Daryl had your back because he came and helped you, and it's that sense of, you know, James will shield me massively in the office, and is just an enormous rock to me, because he's still very respectful. He views Madison's as my business. I'm in charge. I don't actually see it like that at all anymore, interestingly, but he does. And just to have that kind of support, I think, you know, in my darkest moment, right at the beginning of lockdown, when I just said, I just don't feel I can do this anymore. I mean, bless him, he said, well, let's not then, if that's how you feel. You know, I mean, he didn't, you know, he absolutely, I think if I'd have started to then really carry forward, he'd gone, can we just evaluate this a bit, actually, because you've built a really successful business, and what are we doing? But, you know, he didn't question it. He didn't give me a value judgment. And then I think it was literally about 24 hours later, I went, right, let's get going on this then, and let's sort this out. And then, you know, he was like, brilliant, let's just do it. And, you know, every night when I'm working really late, and he is as well, we just get it. You know, we get what we've been up against.
You also see how proud they are of you as well, don't you?
Yes.
I won this lovely award this year, which is sitting there, my little W. So I won Financial Advisor of the Year in the Women Advice Awards, which would normally be a big glam ceremony up in London. No, I watched it, having just had COVID test that day, feeling dreadful, on my own at home in a cardi and slippers, feeling awful.
You did get dressed on, though. You did get your dress on. That
was funny. I had to take a dress pretending I'd won, and I'd taken the picture of me in this dress, 8 o'clock in the morning, pretending to drink champagne, and my cleaner walked in and went, "What the hell are you doing?" Just take a photo, it'll be funny. And I put it on LinkedIn. I've had 41,500 views on LinkedIn, because people,
wow.
I don't even have that many followers, but people are, that's really weird. But the lovely thing was, I didn't realise quite how much of an impact it would have on my family. So my parents, Henry is so kind of, he's gone around and told everybody, he's not that sort of child normally, would go and say that. Mike was proud, because it's a big award in our industry, and it was just such a lovely thing in a really dark time, because that was in October, like Lim said, it was tough in October, and that was lovely. And then Henry's new school asked me to talk about being a woman in financial industry, and he was like, "This is my mum talking," and you think, actually, and she's a chartered financial planner, and you think, really? So like Melissa said, it's infiltrating into your children, and they can see you're a really good role model. Yeah. Although, like Deborah, I probably do, you know, I'm sure we don't dump our children and let them bring themselves up, but we have probably in a way. I've had to as well. But they do see us as this huge role model, and our husbands do as well. So
yeah, no, yeah, definitely, I would agree with that. Every time I get lovely words, someone leaves a testimonial, yeah, you do. It feels, yeah, and he's immensely proud. He tells me all the time. So, final question, ladies. I just want to go around and ask you all, what are you all most looking forward to? I'm going to be hopeful and pray that we are going to come out of this. We're going to protect our vulnerable. We're going to have to learn to live with COVID like we do with flu. We cannot keep hiding away. So I'm going to be hopeful. What the rest of the world is my bigger concern, because obviously, there's a lot of people out there and not the same wealth we are lucky to enjoy here, or our amazing NHS system who have just mobilised to deliver the vaccine incredibly. But what are we all looking forward to as we emerge out of lockdown? Lynn Meek, let's go with you first of all.
Hugs.
I wrote that as well.
Oh, I'm such a tactile person, and poor Russ just gets hugged to death, poor man. I'm surprised he's got any ribs left, to be honest, because I really, really miss hugging my friends. So yeah, definitely hugging, going to the beach, going to a pub, having a meal out, socializing, seeing my friends, just all the things that we used to do without even thinking and just completely took for granted have now become, the thought of it is just so special. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Just getting back to a bit more balanced life.
Melissa, what about you?
Hugging definitely comes into it. I haven't actually been able to hug any of my staff yet because, we haven't been able to social distancing since they started, but also traveling. I cannot wait to go. I love traveling. I love seeing different places, different destinations, and I love going on holiday with my children because they seem to grow up so much every time we go away. So we've got some lovely things planned, hopefully, for this year, and I'm really looking forward to that, as well as opening my gallery. But that's,
sure, yeah.
That's a given, I think.
Actually, use your shop.
Yeah.
Lynn, what about you?
Well, I'd written hugs as well. So hugs. Watching my son play cricket at his new school, I dropped him at this school. We haven't been allowed to go in there, haven't been able to see it, not allowed to go to any sports matches. He's also got a drama scholarship. I want to see him on stage again. So those sort of things. But having a glass of rosé, sitting, we've got a holiday home, family holiday home in Spain. Lynn was meant to be going there last year.
Hopefully going this year, though.
This year, you're still going to go, Lynn. You will be going. Let's think. Sitting at this beautiful restaurant on the seaside with a glass of rosé and my family around me and hugging as well. Yeah, so all of those things.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, for me, it's just kind of freedom. I can't believe we did take so much for granted. I kind of want to go in a shop and not follow the arrows and worry that, oh my gosh, I've forgotten my mask, and that person thinks I'm standing a bit too close to them, and oh my gosh, I want to cough. I can't cough. It's the more socially unacceptable thing to do at the moment. And yeah, to kind of think, I want to go on a holiday, I want to go out for dinner, I want to see my friends, I want to go to the cinema. I mean, just what a great life. We haven't been, I think none of us obviously have lived through a war, but we kind of have now. The enemy has been COVID-19, and it's been, I think, didn't we take how easy our worlds were for granted? So just freedom to just do things. And whether I'll feel weird when I shake someone's hand when I go to value their property, I don't know, because got really used to standing back and being a bit.
I don't know whether we will do that. I used to kiss my clients when I saw them, and I don't know whether that will happen again. We will appreciate things more. I think definitely those things that we took for granted. I think we will appreciate them more.
I've got a very strange video on my phone from probably just under a year ago now. And I called up at a supermarket, and there's this lady that I was filming my little one for something. And so you can hear in the background lady saying, I see that you've got children, so I'm just letting you know they've just had a huge delivery of toilet roll. And this whole video is me and my little one, so she was 3 then, and running, and I'm filming her legs, and I'm saying, why are we running? And she's saying, because they've got toilet roll in the supermarket. Through the car park, and I've got that on my phone, and that is just the most random thing, and I think I'll have to keep that forever, because that sums everything up,
because we just forget those early days, and let's face it, if we do get another virus, we'll have learned a lot from this, won't we? We'll if it happens, and fingers crossed, but we've learned an awful lot. So ladies, thank you all so much for joining me. It's been really lovely to hear all your stories. Actually, we're all here, we're all safe, we've all survived and we've all thrived, and hopefully our families will recover from this as well. It's Mother's Day on Sunday. I hope you're all royally spoilt, as you should be. And yeah, thank you all so much for your time, and look forward to seeing you properly on the other side.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye, everybody.